Did you know that more than 1/3 of Santa Monica's 90,000 residents are over the age of 50? With more and more of us getting older, eventually Santa Monica's population will become what we call top-heavy. So innovative aging programs are essential for all of us to learn and know about to make our life better and easier. Today's guest is Cheng Braun, President and CEO of Wise and Healthy Aging. Welcome, Grace.
Thank
Let's
you.
talk. So Grace, you know, many of my friends come to me, professionally and personally, and they say to me, I want to move my mom out of her house. It's too big for her. I want to put her into an independent living. And what do you say to your clients when they come to you and ask you that? I mean, I'm sure after 40 years in business with Wise and Healthy Aging, you're bound to get this question. How do you respond?
We do get these types of questions. And what we always go back to the person is, actually, you need to talk to your parent, your father or your mother. What does she or he want? What do they want? In most cases, they have a very clear sense of what they want to do. And so I think it's the child, the older adult child at this point, that then takes a look at how can I help my parents have a quality to their life, whether it's staying in their home as long as they can, or it is finding an alternative living situation for them. And we can help with the resources like that.
And so those are probably a lot of who your clients are. What you serve, 30,000 seniors annually?
We touch the lives of more than 30,000 a year, given the many programs that we offer. We are one of the few social services agencies that is in LA that actually offers a pretty comprehensive gamut of services that focuses just on seniors and the caregivers for the seniors.
So you help seniors and caregivers.
And their caregivers. And we define caregiver as anyone who is 18 and older who is the primary caregiver for anyone who is 50 and older. We say that our constituents, what we call senior, is anyone who is 50 and older. And people often say, 50? How did you choose that, Grace? And we said, well, AARP has its membership start at 50, and we think such a distinguished organization as that, we also will,
look
at that as, that next mark in your life, or the next half
stage
of your life. And so we focus on that.
So with your clients and your programs, what do you see as some of the major challenges that they're confronting now? Okay, not the 50-year-olds necessarily. Let's go up to the 65 to the 85.
For the more frail and elderly.
Yeah, exactly.
For the more frail and elderly, which has been a tradition of the clients that we see. These are individuals that, for the most part, are homebound or institutionalized, that have some chronic conditions or issues or such, whether it has to do with their physical functioning or their mental well-being or such. And in that regard, there are a myriad of services that come into play. And really distinguishing from, is the individual still living in their home in the community, or are they living in some form of a long-term care facility, whether it's a board and care, assisted living, nursing home, convalescent, care or such.
It sounds so confusing.
It is, and I think that what a lot of people are faced with, and today with technology and all of the information that is available, it's hard to know how to navigate what is available, and also to know what is not truth, if you will, because there are also a lot of con artists out there that have built up businesses or services that really are not trustworthy. And so we often are that information and referral source for the community that calls in and say, okay, this is the topic. I need some help with this. How do I go about navigating all of the information that is out there that's available?
So you act like a portal for them.
Yes.
So that you can then say, well, maybe you need this, that, and the other. So for example, I call you and I say, my mom is homebound. What do you have to offer me? How can you help me?
Well, we go through an assessment first, an evaluation, ask a bit more about your mom and the situation, her activities of daily living, what are her circumstances and such, and then determine from there. And also in this case, one's financial being, and capabilities and whatnot. In most cases, to sort of kind of complete on the question that you had asked me that I sort of wandered off a little on, is, what are those issues that are facing the older, more frail? Is their ability to have access to the outside world? Transportation is hugely important to them. So wanting to be able to still be able to go out and do something that most of us take for granted, of running an errand, going to the market, getting our hair cut or such. These things affect the quality of life for our seniors who are frail and elderly and are living in residences that they've been living in for a long time, that now have greater difficulty in being able to just access what's going on outside.
But ideally, we all want to be able to live at home. What do you call that? Isn't that a special term? Like
aging in place is sort of the term that is used within the older adult network.
And what does it mean, and why is it important for people of all ages to understand what it means to age in place?
Well, if you think about it, we are all brought up to be independent and resourceful and to take care of ourselves. And so with that mindset as Americans, we then age appropriately into to a point to where we still think of that way. And I think all of us, if we asked ourselves, and I just talked to a 90-year-old the other day, and she doesn't view herself as 90, and she says, I'm thinking maybe I'm still like 60-ish, in how I view myself. And so there is that sense of that I'm not really as old as my chronological age
as
is.
The mirror shows me.
Sometimes, yes.
Right. Yeah.
And so therefore, I want to be able to do the things that I want to be able to do. That sense of independence is so, I think, inherent to our identity and our ability to say, I am in control.
Autonomy.
Yeah.
Having that autonomy.
Yeah.
And that's what we all want.
Yes.
As we age.
Yes.
And so Wise and Healthy Aging has programs and services that allow people to age in place.
Most definitely. And depending on an individual's financial circumstance, all right, we are a nonprofit organization, and we do have a mission. We're mission-based, and in that regard, we pride ourselves on our ability to help those who are in need, that are financially challenged and such, because we do have opportunities to tap into other sources of funding, whether it's privately gifted or it is government funded or such, that are able to help those that may not be able to pay for services. And at the same time, we also have the opportunity to help those that do have the opportunity to pay, because we do not discriminate in either perspective. And so those who do pay, we're delighted, and to us that only then helps us to be able to maintain our operations in a way that for those who can't, that we're then able to help.
Balances out. And so what about funding for the future?
Well,
what's that looking like as far as these types of programs?
We did receive just, with the whole sequestering and everything, there are some funding challenges that we are facing. We are very fortunate that we have worked very hard to position ourselves in a format that our board of directors determined 5 years ago when we went through the merger of Y Senior Services and Center for Healthy Aging, the two organizations that have been in Santa Monica for 30 plus years, that it was important to have a business model for our nonprofit or social services organization that has it that we're able to stand on our own feet, if you will. All right. So we are not a charitable model. And I think that where a lot of the other smaller nonprofit organizations that are having considerable amount of challenges is that they've got most of their eggs all in one basket, to where they're dependent on government funding for the bulk of what they do. What we very consciously looked at is how do we position ourselves in a way that we have programs and services that people pay for, and also have services in which, if somebody does not have the means, we have then look for resources to be able to help them.
So you balance out funding with people who can supplement with their own income, and that's helped you.
Yes, and at the same time, it will continue to be a challenge. It will continue, unfortunately. But it's very hard there are such wonderful causes in the community. It's hard to say that, oh, services for seniors, should be in the front of the line. And so that's why we very consciously look to see how can we provide services that we view are needed and help people who actually have the ability to pay for those services, such that we're able to then generate and remain financially viable to then help those who can't.
And then in addition to that, those that can pay, they can also volunteer their time.
Yes, and we actually have a wonderful force of 300 plus volunteers within the greater Los Angeles area that volunteer, whether it's through the Ombudsman program or it's mostly here along the west side. Yep.
And volunteering has a huge financial value. I mean, we know that in dollars, it's in the billions in the United States.
Most definitely.
And
a lot of nonprofit, or community-based nonprofit organizations, I think, could not exist without the generosity of volunteers.
Aging is the universal experience that is universally different. When we come back, we'll find out how Wise and Healthy Aging develops innovative programs to meet individuals' unique needs. I'm talking with Grace Chen Braun, President and CEO of Wise and Healthy Aging. Grace, I'm very, very proud of one of your newest programs, Wise Connections.
Yes.
I want you to tell us about Wise Connections, the village model. I mean, how did you get into it? It's such an exciting program for me, and I know it's going to be very helpful so that everyone can age in place, as you've already taught us.
Yes. Well, Santa Monica can be very proud that it is the first to pilot a program that is quite innovative. So this movement started over 10 years ago in Boston. Beacon Hill, a community of aging older adults, a group of people got together and said, you know what, I don't want to move to Florida, do you? And I don't want to move to that, that high-rise condominium that they're developing for us seniors and such. I like my home. How can we work to stay in our homes longer? And so they banded together very organically, grassroots, and formed this virtual village called Beacon Hill Village. And it caught on like wildfire. People heard about it and started saying, hey, I'm here in Nebraska, I'm here in Oregon, we love to do something like that. It's a membership-based organization, nonprofit, that looks at how to support its members to stay in their homes as long as possible by bringing in concierge level types of services, opportunities for socialization, that transportation, support that I had talked about earlier, keeping an eye. It's that old-fashioned neighborhood watch type of an approach. For most people, their family do not live close by, given the geography of the United States. And so therefore this is that opportunity. So in California, which was, it sort of kind of moved from from the east to the west. So in California, the first village that came up was up in the Stanford area called Avenidas Village. And we started taking a look at that. And actually it was the city of Santa Monica's Human Services Division that approached us and said, hey, have you heard about this village thing? And we would have an interest to take a look at that. And I really have to compliment the city of Santa Monica for their leadership in really saying, you know what, we are interested in this model and to see how we as a city might be able to further support our seniors aging in place. So we started taking a look at that. We're actually the first in Los Angeles to put together a village. Our village is a little different. Most villages are neighbors form a nonprofit grassroots. They call themselves a village. In our case, we already have our nonprofit, which is Wise and Healthy Aging. So we already bring all of the many services that these others look to develop. We already have it in place. So what we look to then is to work with the neighborhoods, the residents, the leaders that are looking to make a difference, the volunteers that you spoke about, that want to take a leadership role. And in that regard, to bring that resource together. And so we have what we call a Members Leadership Advisory Council that we have esteemed neighbors that are from the communities of Mar Vista at this point, Pacific Palisades, and Santa Monica. In Santa Monica, the uniqueness is that there is a portion of our membership that are of lower income seniors. And in most communities, there would not be an opportunity to participate because it is a fee-based membership fee. And in this case, the city of Santa Monica has a community grants program that actually scholarships a certain number of our lower income Santa Monica residents to participate, which is truly wonderful.
Yeah.
And so we have that opportunity.
It's a reflection of the community.
I think it is. It is.
Yeah. So in that,
yes,
the Wise Connections model, when you say concierge services, like what? What do you mean?
So it is anything. So it ranges from when you take a look at, well, who are the people that are becoming members? All right, they are individuals who become members who say, you know what, I don't think I really need any of the services, but I want it for peace of mind, just in case. So it's kind of like that little bit of insurance, if you will. Then there are those people that say, I want to become involved because I'm lonely, I'm widowed, a lot of my friends are not in this area or have passed, and I want to get out and do things, and I don't want to go to a movie by myself. So we create opportunities on a monthly basis. It's outings, whether it's to a movie and lunch, or to the museum, or to a performance. We have a walking group in the Palisades. There are various activities that promote, whether it's a book club or social interactions and such. Then there is what we call the trusted vetted vendor referral opportunities. So as you had indicated earlier, the tremendous amount of number of old seniors that are, they are carrying the greatest wealth of our nation. They're also the biggest target for con artists and fraud. And so they are